What's up? What's up? What's up? Another jam-packed week of things going on in our nation. We had a quite different style of a presidential debate. Um, it was a little bit different. I think. I think the way it was structured, in theory, was okay. But as we saw, that wasn't adhered to. I believe some of the questions were softball questions, but I really want to dive into that that debate and talk about that debate. If you guys want to join this conversation, I'm looking for level-headed people. I don't want to get up here and scream and shout and argue with you. I want to be able to talk to you and on a level of respect and with the goal of let's fix our country. It's up to us, we the people. If you are of like mind, then you believe we the people. And if you don't believe that, then we fundamentally may disagree on a lot. But I want to talk about these debates. I want to get down to the bottom of a lot of this stuff. I want to talk about these candidates. Um, whatever side you lie on, we got to pick one of these guys here in about 6 months, 5 months, 6 months. It's coming. So, let's talk about this debate. Um, Without further ado, I like to give a strong shout out to my producer, UF, aka VA Verse. If you want to give yourself, I can't hear you, big
Good
dog.
morning, good morning, good morning. Good morning, America. How's everybody doing?
There you go. Good job. Good job. Good job. Thank you for not leaving me hanging too long on that one. But now welcome as usual. If you guys
We
want to
here.
join, we talking about these debates. June 29th. We've shot off about 3 or 4 SpaceX 9 rockets in the last month. And then we got Donald Trump and Joe Biden debating. So let's go ahead and pop up the the debate and run it, and we're gonna break it down, dissect it. This is the full stream, non-edited from what I because I saw it live. I watched the whole thing live. I try to do those things so that I can see what's going on before any of the media gets to it, or it's chopped up and butchered up on social media to play to any narrative, whatever. I seen it live. So um when you see it live and you're not getting bits and pieces of it out of context, you get a little bit better understanding of what's actually going on. And I encourage people to do that more often. Try to find the full length video or the full length footage of whatever it is, or whatever topic, or whatever the the speaking point is, because a lot of things out of context can be exploited, and I feel that that's what's happening with our society when it comes down to these politics. It's not hard to see, and it happens on both sides. So nobody's immune to this. If you think it's happening on your side, then it's happening on the other side. It's happening on both sides, right? So we have to agree that social media and the outlets that the powers that be have the control of certain narratives, and we have to understand that we need to witness these things with our own eyes to really believe the full or understand the full context or the full truth. So without further ado, let's go ahead and run through this debate. Let's dissect it. If you guys want to call in, the number's 202-627-0088. Please, if don't be shy. I mean, I see a lot of people get on these platforms and type. Let's talk about these things. We can go outside the boundaries of certain social media platforms. I'm on TikTok right now. You guys that are in here, if you want to talk freely on this podcast, you can do so. We can break away from this platform. So go ahead and run it the clip.
Good evening. I'm Dana Bash, anchor of CNN's Inside Politics and co-anchor of State of the Union.
I'm Jake Tapper, anchor of CNN's The Lead and co-anchor of State of the Union. Dana and I will co-moderate this evening. Our job is to facilitate a debate between the two candidates tonight. Before we introduce them, we want to share the rules of the debate with the audience at home. Former President Trump will be on the left side of the screen. President Biden will be appearing on the right. A coin toss determined their positions. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to answer a question and 1 minute each for responses and rebuttals. An additional minute for follow-up, clarification, or response is at the moderator's discretion.
When it's time for a candidate to speak, his microphone will be turned on and his opponent's microphone will be turned off. Should a candidate interrupt when his microphone is muted, he will be difficult to understand for viewers at home. At the end of the debate, each candidate will get 2 minutes for closing statements. There is no studio audience tonight. Pre-written notes, props, or contact with campaign staff are not permitted during the debate. By accepting our invitation to debate, both candidates and their campaigns agreed to accept these rules.
Now, please welcome the 46th President of the United States, Joe Biden.
All right, hold on. All right, go ahead and pause it right there real quick. All right, boom. And then kind of fast forward past all of that to when we get ready to get into answering questions and shit. All right, so those were the rules. You guys heard the rules. They had limited time to answer questions. They had about 2 minutes, I believe, to answer whatever questions the moderators asked, and then there was a minute for rebuttal, and then another minute to close out the question or to answer the rebuttal or whatever that was. So a total of about 4 minutes per question is where they were going with the rules. It sounded like each on each side. So about a total of 8 minutes per topic or per question from the moderators. All right. So that's kind of the baseline of the rules of what was going on there. They also said that these guys had they're going to mute the mics. So if anybody was going to try to interrupt, it would be very difficult for viewers and the people to hear the interruption. So I think that that's fair. I think that there was a lot of that going on in previous debates that kind of muddled the waters and answers and didn't allow certain things to be answered and for us to understand fully what's going on. So I think that was a good additive to this year's debate is muting the mics. I don't agree with the studio audience not being present. I think that the reactions and um, and things of that nature should be allowed and visible for those candidates to see that what they're saying isn't what's good or what they're saying is good. I think that us at home need to understand, be able to see that that's not like some background noise and they just add some studio noise or they got a fluffer back there, making people clap and stuff like the Oprah show and the View. Um, you know, I think that that kind of messed it up a little bit, but the rules were set in place. There was supposed to be no correspondence with um, any campaign sources. There were not supposed to be any notes. I can definitely tell you, I think, in my opinion, based off of what I saw live, and Joe Biden had notes. Joe Biden was definitely looking down. He had paper and stuff in front of him. He definitely had some notes. And he kept messing with his ear. I'm not sure if he had a device, but he kept messing with his ear. So right off the rip, my observations going through that. I didn't see too many times Donald Trump looking at anything down at the podium. If he did it at opportune times when the camera didn't catch him. And I definitely didn't see him messing around with his ears or anything like that to suggest that he had any listening devices or any devices in his ears to help him or communicate with other people. So let's go ahead and roll it to when they started asking questions, because after that it was just some introductory things, and then they go into asking questions. So we'll start there. Go ahead, sir.
And let's start with the issue that voters consistently say is their top concern, the economy. President Biden, inflation has slowed, but prices remain high. Since you took office, the price of essentials has increased. For example, a basket of groceries that cost $100 then now costs more than $120. And typical home prices have jumped more than 30%. What do you say to voters who feel they are worse off under your presidency than they were under President Trump?
We got to take a look at what I was left when I became president and what Mr. Trump left me. We had an economy that was in free fall. The pandemic was so badly handled. Many people were dying. All he said was, it's not that serious. Just inject a little bleach in your arm. You'll be all right. The economy collapsed. There were no jobs. Unemployment rate rose to 15%. It was terrible. And so what we had to do is try to put things back together again. And that's exactly what we began to do. We created 15,000 new jobs. We brought out in the position where we have 800,000 new manufacturing jobs. But there's more to be done. There's more to be done. Working class people are still in trouble. I come from Scranton, Pennsylvania. I come of a household where the kitchen table, if the things weren't able to be met during the month, it was a problem. Price of eggs, the price of gas, the price of housing, the price of a whole range of things. That's why I'm working so hard to make sure I deal with those problems. And we're going to make sure that we reduce the price of housing. We're going to make sure we build 2 million new units. We're going to make sure we cap rents so corporate greed can't take over. The combination corporate greed is the reason why we're in this problem right now. In addition to that, we're in a situation where if you take a look at all that was done in his administration, he didn't do much at all. By the time he left, things were in chaos. Literally chaos. And so we put things back together. We created, I said, those jobs. We make sure we had a situation where we brought down the price of prescription drugs, which is a major issue for many people, to $15 for a insulin shot as opposed to $400. No senior has to pay more than $200 for any drug, all the drugs they can include beginning next year. And the situation is and we're going to make that available to everybody, to all Americans. So we're working to bring down the price around the kitchen table, and that's what we're going to get done.
Thank you, President
All
Trump.
right, pause it real quick.
Economy in the history.
Before we even hear anything from Trump about the rebuttal. In my opinion, that when he answered that question, he's the acting president. He's sitting in the seat. He's the president, correct? So what I don't like that the Democratic Party does is that they just rattle off a bunch of catchphrases and keywords and trending terms. What Joe Biden did was say, hey, yeah, the middle class is struggling, and we're doing this and we're doing that, and we're gonna fix this and we're gonna fix that. Like, yeah, that's of course, thank you. But how? Like, what value did that add to me? You just identified all these problems that need to be fixed in the last, I don't know, however old you are, these things have been problems. And you're currently in office. So what have you done and what are you doing? You're saying you're working hard to fix these things. You're saying that you're, like, what have you done? What monetarily, where are our tax dollars going? How much of our 15% of your tax dollars are going towards this issue? I've spent 1.5 $5 million. Like, that's the kind of stuff we need to, because we need to start making the math. You just saying that and confirming there's a bunch of problems and that you're working on them. That should be a sufficient answer to that question in a debate. What do you think? 202-627-0088. Like, seriously. I don't believe that was the first question of the night in a debate. You had the time to really solidify your stance. You could have came with a more comprehensive answer than that. Look what I was handed instantly. You're not even taking accountability for your own part in this. We've been in this thing about 3.5 years now. Ownership of the presidency comes in. Stuff is still bad. At this point in time, you have to be like, hey, you have to own some of this. What I didn't hear in that response is what tax funds are allocated to this issue that we're talking about. How are we fixing where is this money coming from that's gonna, you just said corporate, you said, oh, corporate America and this and that, the catchphrase, but how, where? All right, let's hear Donald Trump, what he had to say about that.
History of our country. We have never done so well. Everybody was amazed by it. Other countries were copying us. We got hit with COVID. And when we did, we spent the money necessary so we wouldn't end up in a Great Depression, the likes of which we had in 1929. By the time we finished, so we did a great job. We got a lot of credit for the economy, a lot of credit for the military, and no wars, and so many other things. Everything was rocking good. But the thing we never got the credit for, and we should have, is getting us out of that COVID mess. He created mandates that was a disaster for our country. But other than that, we had given them back a country where the stock market actually was higher than pre-COVID, and nobody thought that was even possible. The only jobs he created are for illegal immigrants and bounce-back jobs, a bounce-back from the COVID. He has not done a good job. He's done a poor job, and inflation's killing our country. It is absolutely killing us.
Thank you, President Biden.
All right, break it.
Oh, look,
break
the
it right
greatest-
there. Break it right there. Break it right there. Bam. All right. Some may argue that the economy under Trump wasn't the greatest. Some may argue that we were not in a good financial status or standing pre-COVID. I don't agree with that, because what I can tell you is that in that time frame I was able to purchase my home. I was able to make some pretty significant financial um decisions. I know that I was making some pretty good money, and I wasn't paying like this year. They just came in they just went, my bank account just took $5,000, like bam, hit that. Just woke up one day, $5,000 out of my bank account. That's why I still got them stemmies. They took the stemmies from me. That's basically what they took from me.
Mm.
Remember I told you I had them stacked up, ready to go?
Yeah.
That's basically what they took from me. So, it's one of those things where um the economy at that time, I believe pre-COVID, like I said, some may argue that it wasn't the greatest, or that was off the hook of Barack Obama. I'm not even going to go there. Maybe so, but it wasn't off the rails. Gas wasn't $5 in some places, $6, $7 in some places. Eggs isn't, you ain't making life decisions at the grocery store in 2017, 18, right? Not like that. Uh, I think that the housing market, for a fact, I can tell you, back in 2016, 17, 18, your interest rates for homes nationwide was about 1.9% to 2.5%. Now it's above 6. It's crazy. This particular era right now, with families, young families in their late 20s, mid to late 20s with their first child trying to buy a home it's impossible for them to do so now. So how is our economy better? How is it better off now? Like, we take Donald Trump and Joe Biden out the equation and we just talk about the way of life. What way of life was a little bit better? We had we had some social issues going on back then, so some may argue that fuck buying a house. I'm getting beat up by the cops. All right, roll the roll the rebuttal there.
Gotcha.
Economy in the world. He's the only one who thinks that, I think. I don't know anybody else who thinks he's the greatest economy in the world. And, the fact of the matter is that we found ourselves in a situation where his economy, he rewarded the wealthy. He had the largest tax cut in American history, $2 trillion. He raised a deficit larger than any president has in any one term. He's the only president other than Herbert Hoover who's lost more jobs than he had when he began, since Herbert Hoover.
Pause it right there.
The idea that he did something that was significant.
That was one thing that I really did not appreciate, that the Democratic Party and Joe Biden's administration tried to narrate. It would be different if we found out that Donald Trump was behind COVID. It would be very different if we found out that Donald Trump created COVID and imposed COVID upon the nation and upon the world. But that's not the case, right? We know that as a fact, correct? We can all agree that Donald Trump was not responsible for the creation of COVID. Okay. So COVID was a global pandemic, correct?
Agree.
All nations had to deal with COVID in their own way and their own resources and what they had, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So when it came down to the United States, all of us we the people had various and different opinions about COVID and what we were going to do about that, where other nations, it was, if you're living in certain societies, you will do this, or you will get thrown in prison, or get rocked or stoned, or get, your headshot, whatever it is, right? But because we're Americans and our privilege as Americans, we had the right to wear a mask or not wear a mask and not get vaccinated or get vaccinated, correct?
Correct.
All right. So as the leader of that country, we had to spend an absorbent amount of money to make sure that those people had the resources to make those choices, correct?
Correct.
Where did that money come from?
The people.
Okay. So when Joe Biden and the Democratic Party and this presidential administration starts talking about how they got handed a deficit, we have to understand that COVID absorbed a lot of that deficit. No other president in history had to deal and manage a global pandemic the likes of COVID. Correct? So I don't care who's sitting in that seat. It could have been Denzel Washington, Jesus H. Christ, whoever you want to put up in there, Martin Luther King. It could have been Malcolm X. Anybody sitting in that seat, your grandmama. Anybody sitting in that seat would have had that responsibility and taken that monetary hit as the president. So for them to emphasize that and make that a political thing instantly is out of bounds for me, is unethical to me. I think that that's a dirty tactic to be using and to be making your point about this freaking economy. If you have any varying opinion about that, please call in 202-627-0088. Like, I really want to hear how you disagree with that. I really want, based off of what I just said. Now, we know that Donald Trump is not responsible for the creation of COVID. How is he responsible for the debt that was passed on behind it to allow us as Americans to have all these choices in what we was and wasn't going to do. Or we could have been dictated to, which I know a lot of Americans wouldn't have appreciated, and mandated these things which they tried to do and make us do these things, but they had to have the resources for us to have alternatives. So
My
it's
point,
crazy.
my what I would say about that, just to add on to what you're saying, is we first of all, before I go into saying that, I just want to say that there are a lot of families and a lot of people out there that experience really tough times during the pandemic and
Absolutely.
lost family members. So to those people, I
Absolutely.
understand that the pandemic cannot be looked at from your perspective as a moment that brings good memories and things of that nature.
Absolutely.
However, there was some of us, and I would honestly say that there were probably a lot of us. I don't want to get into saying whether it's the majority or the minority or not, but there were some of us that lived very comfortably and did not experience much hardships during the pandemic. I and my family are one of those. We lost people close to us, not in our immediate family at all. But we were able to quarantine. We were able to social distance and stay home and still afford groceries, afford to take care of our children through all of the things that were provided for us through the pandemic, where the states or the federal, whatever it may be, where the school systems were giving food stamps to any family that had kids that would go to school to replace the school lunches that they would have been eating, that we do pay for with our taxes
Right.
when you send your kids to public schools.
Right.
Um, Unemployment, high rate of unemployment for any people that were not able to keep their jobs, or that actually, and it
Stimulus check.
wasn't, stimulus checks, and the unemployment. I want to make this clear too. The unemployment wasn't specific to people who lost their jobs. People who chose to not work because of their fear of in safety for their family and themselves were also allowed to get unemployment. So you were allowed
because
to
there were
quit your
because there were
job.
businesses that were not honoring or abiding by the guidance of the CDC and the administrations to mask up or social distance. So they had the right to be like, I don't want to work here.
Exactly. And get
You
unemployment
so the wrap what I was saying up there takes an absorbent amount of money
for us to
as
live comfortably as if
Americans
there's
to have the freedoms and liberties that we have. And then to make that a point of discussion is almost like, but what are you talking? Yes, yes, I hand it over. And this is why Donald Trump looks at Joe Biden like a moron sometimes. I feel like, bro, you don't understand simple mathematics. We had to fund and make sanitation stations and masks readily available for people that couldn't afford them, and certain services. And then because we did have to make this thing, we did have to take care and make sure people were safe. We had to who came up, who bought all the freaking tests, who was handing, you know what I'm saying, when the tests were being conducted free. Remember, it's free, it's not going to cost nobody, it's free, 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 free. Remember, free
Mhm.
vaccinations, free this, free that. Where do you think that money's coming from? Where do you think that money came from?
Mm.
It put us in debt. So naturally, we were gonna, you know what I'm saying? And like I said, I'm not taking nothing from the impact of this thing. Okay. Like, of course, and I know, and I've heard stories. I've heard stories on both sides of the spectrum. You know what I'm saying? I personally, and I think the creator that we personally haven't been impacted by it. But I know plenty of people, and like you said, we have mutual friends that lost people, and you ain't gonna be able to tell them shit about COVID,
Absolutely.
right? And I understand that. If I lost my mama to COVID, you ain't gonna tell me shit about COVID.
Absolutely.
So I understand that 100%. But that's not the issue. And I'm not, and regardless of, excuse me, regardless of its origins or regardless of its, however it was implemented, whether it was by God himself or someone messed up in the world. Who knows? Right? Who truly knows? If it was God's will, it was God's will. Obviously, the creator allowed it to happen. So we can blame 1,000 people for it. We can think whatever we want to think about it. But at the end of the day, in history, this went down. And at the helm was Donald Trump. And unfortunately, a lot of money had to get spent to accommodate our society in a global pandemic. And yes, we are America.
Wouldn't you know it? It's not free.
Good.
Wouldn't you know it? It wasn't free.
It wasn't. So unfortunately, that got rolled into the debt. That's like you taking a loaner. That's like you trying to trade in your loaner car on some brand new Maybach shit. You gonna have some rollover. Good.
What they say? What they say? Money don't grow on trees, guys.
That's taxpayer dollars. So that's so that. Oh, and then the next part of that, and I keep and the so number like Joe Biden was doing. Number one, the debt is rollover from COVID. Nobody who's gonna blame you if you really blaming Donald Trump for COVID. Then I think you might want to reevaluate what's going on. That's just me. Number two, when we start talking about unemployment and the increase in jobs during this administration, I don't think people understand what they mean by bounce back jobs and recovery jobs. Like you just pointed out, people were able to just leave their jobs because they decided that the COVID policies wasn't up to their liking. They were scared, this and that. People got furloughed, people got laid off, people got fired, all sorts of situations happened and went down and transpired because of the COVID conditions. Correct.
Correct.
And in the past 2 to 3 years, now, like at a variety of companies around the world, yeah, it's time to come back, you guys. Yep, the office is open now. Come on in. And then you had some people that got comfortable with that lifestyle of working from home. And there was a lot of companies that accommodated that lifestyle because it was economically feasible for them to operate that way. Right.
True.
So the increase in jobs only came because of the creation of the evolution of the workforce. Right. So COVID created the opportunity for companies to be able to operate with lower overhead because they don't have to have these big buildings and all these offices and all of that stuff. We got a fleet of people working from home, right? So that increased the economy, not because of any legislation or anything that you put into place. That was organic. Number two was all the other companies that do have brick and mortar locations that were losing their tail during COVID. It's like, okay, it's not no more mandates. Time to come on back. And then you had the social distancing. So Amazon and other places like big factories and stuff were able to get back to bigger work because they didn't have to have all the social distancing restrictions. So now they're able to hire more headcount. Those are bounce back jobs, not because you put anything in place. If you disagree with that, please 202-627-0088. Please call in because that's the part that I disagree fundamentally that the Democratic Party likes to take credit for. They did nothing. Lay out in front of me something that shows that the unemployment rate raised because of something that you put into place. Go ahead and roll it.
I can agree with that. Lost myself. There you go.
And the military, when he was president, they were still killing people in Afghanistan. He didn't do anything about that. When he was president, we were still found ourselves in a position where a notion that we were this safe country. The truth is, I'm the only president this century that doesn't have any, this decade, that doesn't have any troops dying anywhere in the world like he did.
President Trump, I want to follow up if I can.
You want allowed to respond to him?
Well, I'm going to ask you a follow-up. You can do whatever you want with the minute that we give you. I want to follow up. You want to impose a 10% tariff on our goods coming into the U.S. How will you ensure that?
So right there, and what? How long are we into this thing, verse?
We are 6 minutes and 31 seconds into the broadcast.
6 minutes into an hour and a half debate, and the moderator just told this man, well, he's like, yeah, you're gonna have a minute. You can say whatever you want. So you just basically allowed that candidate to now take whatever time he had to say whatever he wanted. So what happened?
And be able to avoid the topic. And be able to avoid the topic.
If they want to. You can now use your time to rebut whatever you want. You can go back 2 questions and be like, well, I want to go back to when he said this, and that. As a Joe Biden non-supporter, and I got to make this very clear to a lot of people, like, I just don't rock with the Democratic Party on a variety of different levels. You know, I love a lot of Democrats personally. Like, I love them. You know what I'm saying? Family members and people like that have these views, like, that look at me like the black sheep because I don't rock with that party. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, it's the facts are in front of you. When we allow and we go outside the lines like this and we set forth rules and then boom, you let the guy. That's one thing that I wish that Donald Trump would have done is followed the rules. He had a perfect opportunity to follow the rules to the letter. He had the moderator tell him, hey, you can address whatever you want to address. And I think that he took that advantage of that, which I didn't find particularly cool at all. So go ahead and run it through. Oh, hold on. Before we get to this, I guess we can run to what was that one time 55? I guess just go ahead and run it.
Yeah, we'll get through the economic part and then we'll move forward.
That doesn't drive prices even higher.
It's not going to drive them higher. It's just going to cause countries that have been ripping us off for years, like China and many others, in all fairness to China, it's going to just force them to pay us a lot of money, reduce our deficit tremendously, and give us a lot of power for other things.
When you say, Tommy, shout out to Tommy Hits White. Salute to you for tapping in. Good morning. When you say Trump killed in the debate, my bad. Right. I read that wrong. I thought it said killed the debate. He said killed in the debate. So I'm assuming that he would say that Trump won the debate.
I mean, yeah. I mean, well, here's the thing. Trump was more articulate. Now, did people like what he was saying? Of course not. There's a lot of people that anytime he opens his mouth is just lies and whatever. I would say that he did emphasize on a lot of things that I don't think he should have been talking about. But overall, I feel the consensus, because even on CNN, even after the debate, the Democratic tone was that he did poorly, Joe Biden.
Okay. From the Democrats themselves.
Not that Donald Trump did great, because Donald Trump did put out some inaccuracies, spoke on some stuff that I don't think that he should have been speaking on. I think that Donald Trump lost in a way that the swing voters, the people that are on the fence, I'm not sure that he did a good job of winning those people over, because he just got up there and was cocky. I think that his goal in this debate was to get up there and razzle Joe Biden, which I feel he did. I feel that he got Joe because Donald Trump was cool and calm, like just chilling. Joe Biden was mad. He was looking all crazy. You're the sucker and you're the loser. You're the punk. Your dad sucks. No, your mom is. That's what started happening.
Mm-hmm.
And Joe Biden fell right into that. And then and one thing that I feel that we kept hearing from the Democratic side is that Joe is a sharp individual. He's every time they talk about him, he's sharp, he's on point, he's engaged, he's this, he's that. But what we see, I wish sometimes I wish that the media would catch that man on some sharp stuff like, yeah, I think the reciprocal of the transversal wave is therefore induced by the blah blah blah. Like oh snap, Joe going crazy right now. We don't see that. I get it. He might be old and decrepit and moving around and this and that. But in speaking, and you're the leader of the free world, and you can't stay on topic, that's a problem. I wish that this team, I feel, worked very hard to prep him for this debate. A lot of his stuff seems scripted, and like I said, if you watch that debate in its entirety, Joe Biden had notes. Clearly, there was like yellow paper that he referred to a couple times that I saw with my own eyes on the live. And it said clearly at the beginning that you weren't supposed to have notes. It wasn't scripted, so it was like he knew what he was doing.
So I just want to piggyback. I don't want to interrupt you, but I want to make sure we keep in mind that while this is a live stream, we do have our audio listeners that are going to listen as well. Salute to Tommy Hits White, whose commented said it was scripted, so it wasn't scripted, so it was like he knew what he was doing. He had Biden hot as fish grease. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Tommy Hits White again says Biden has, other words, a ghostwriter.
Right, which was explicitly against the rules of this debate. Again, I need people to go to the unedited.
Were the rules not that to have stuff prepared, or that they couldn't bring notes with them? I think that's what
nothing. He said no communicate. Listen, when the moderator set the rules, they said with the timelines. I remember going right over that, and I remember emphasizing it right after they set the rules. Mm-hmm. So yes, there were not supposed to be any notes. There were not supposed to be any contact with campaign advisors or officials during
the debate. And there were for Biden, you said.
Right. And
you're saying that he communicated with his people during the debate?
I can't say definitively, but my man was digging in his ear a couple times like he had something in there.
You might have some wax in there, bro.
I mean, but you're at that point in time, who wears people at? Let's get the wax out your ears so the American people don't think that you're digging in your ear with a device. We don't need the conspiracy theorists thinking that you got a fake mask on, so stop fucking with your neck.
Absolutely.
Don't read the shit in parentheses when we put it up on the teleprompter, Joe. That's for you only, big dog. Like, I can only imagine his handlers and how they like.
The fact that they're putting them out here just is questionable. Let's move forward to another part we wanted to focus on. This is something that a lot of people have been clamoring about online. This is when they addressed the black voter and the black issues. Let's go ahead and get into this.
Challenges you both faced in your first terms, and you'd certainly face again in a second term. President Biden, while black unemployment dropped to a record low under your presidency, black families still earned far less than white families. Black mothers are still 3 times more likely to die from pregnancy-related causes, and black Americans are imprisoned at 5 times the rate of white Americans. What do you say to black voters who are disappointed that you haven't made more progress?
They acknowledge him.
Now, before you point out what I know you're going to point out, it don't look like he writing something down right there.
I mean, it does look like he's writing something down. He might be. I mean, you
Are
might
they
not.
maybe they? I just want to see, because that's what I'm going to ask. I want to be clear when they say no notes. Are they saying I can't take notes live and write stuff down so I can remember? Or are they saying I can't come in with prepared notes of things to say?
That wasn't clear.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
That wasn't clear to us. Right? Okay, so that's not clear to us. So you see him writing stuff down. Okay, I can see that. Like, maybe I'm writing it down because this guy's talking about things. Let me write it down so I don't remember. But then again, to your point,
I think they meant no prepared notes, no like notes that came in prepared, so you can. But yeah, I don't see why there would be anything wrong with writing something down, because we get to back and forthing, and they asking a bunch of questions, and I want to make sure that I address what I came prepared to address, but also what they asked me. So I just think he wrote down what they were asking him.
All right. Okay. Giving the man the benefit of the doubt. Okay. So I'm gonna come off of the he had notes. He was writing his notes down so we can remember what they asked him 2 minutes ago. Okay.
They made a lot of progress, number one. The fact of the matter is there's more small black businesses that have been started than any time in history. Number two, the wages of black.
Pause. How come is it that Joe Biden could talk about black businesses and black jobs? Roll the tape.
Black unemployment is the lowest level it's been in a long, long time. Number three, we're trying to provide housing for black Americans and dealing with the segregation that exists among these corporations that collude to keep people out of their houses. And in addition to that, we find that the impact of...
Okay. I'm pausing each of these statements because it's what Joe Biden is addressing things that are affecting the black community, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Keep going.
On the choice that black families have to make relative to child care is incredibly difficult. When we did the first major piece of legislation,
another point, right? Okay. So
I was able.
Okay. So I am going to say right now my stance on people's getting all crazy about Trump saying if you didn't watch the whole thing, you didn't watch this in context and understand what he was talking about. What the liberal media and other media outlets love to do is take clips and bits and pieces of what was said and they put it out there and outrage you. This is why I don't rock with that party. Okay. So everybody that got up that morning and said that Trump said some black jobs that this was what he was addressing. The immigration and the illegal migrant issue, our border issue currently, those benefits, those programs, the monetary monies that are going to those things that Joe himself just said we have an issue with is now going to our immigration issue and going to those people that we are helping come across our border. Is that a fact or not? Is that correct? If you disagree with what I'm saying, please call in 202-627-0088. I would love to understand how that is not an appropriate answer to the points that Joe Biden just made. And if Joe Biden is able to specifically address the black community, how come the other presidential candidate is not able to address the black community and its issues and say black jobs when he's talking about black jobs and being specific about those things?
And the question was about black jobs as well.
Exactly. That's why I'm making the point. The economy, it goes hand in hand. And then what we have an issue with is not understanding the context of a lot of things what this guy says. People do a really good job of taking a lot of the stuff out of context. If you were to watch this whole debate, you would understand that when he was talking about that, rebutting the fact that you're talking about the the people that you have all these the black community not being able to have childcare, not being able to afford housing and this and that. And now
Would you like
you're
to would you like to let them hear his
no, no,
response?
no. I
Okay.
understand the response, but where I'm getting at is that that has to be understood in his response.
Mm.
I'm emphasizing that. We've heard his response out of context. Go ahead.
And he caused the inflation. He's blaming inflation, and he's right. It's been very bad. He caused the inflation, and it's killing black families and Hispanic families and just about everybody. It's killing people. They can't buy groceries
Oh, he was inclusive.
Black, Hispanic, and just about everybody.
anymore. They can't. You look at the cost of food where it's doubled and tripled and quadrupled. They can't live. They're not living anymore. He caused this inflation. I gave him a country with essentially no inflation. It was perfect. It was so good. All he had to do is leave it alone. He destroyed it with his Green New scam and all this money that's being thrown out the window. He caused inflation. As sure as you're sitting there, the fact is that his big kill on the black people is the millions of people that he's allowed to come in through the border. They're taking black jobs now, and it could be 18, it could be 19, and even 20 million people. They're taking black jobs, and they're taking Hispanic jobs, and you haven't seen it yet, but you're going to see something that's going to be the worst in our history.
Thank you, President.
Call in. You think he lying? Call in. Let's talk about it.
Interesting. So he mentioned like you said all of the responding to the question about black employment, about black people, about the black voter. And then again, like you said, I had a take on this as well.
Please.
If you hear somebody say the phrase, these two words together, like black jobs, right? If you hear those two words or that phrase and you immediately associate that with negative or demeaning, or I don't want to say negative or demeaning, but just undesirable jobs, or low end jobs, then is the person that said black jobs, who didn't specifically, when he said black jobs, he just meant jobs that black people get. He didn't say fry cook. He didn't say fry cook. He didn't say janitor. He didn't say waste garbage guy. Garbage people make good money. But but he didn't say anything about the specific job or labeling what job he was talking about. They are talking about the black voter. They are talking about black employment. So he's basically saying jobs that black people are holding. If me and you work at the same place, if we both work as salesmen at the local Dodge dealership, that job, you're white, I'm black. That job is a black job. It is a white job. It's both jobs. Both can be true at the same time. Him saying black jobs doesn't mean that it's that there are specific jobs that only black people can get or only black people should have. We're specifically just talking about the black population and the black voters
community. And the community. The big thing that needs to be addressed and understood too is the city center is predominantly the black community. Is that correct or not?
Yes.
Okay.
We're also. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
So when we start talking about where the black job is, we're talking about the majority of us working in the inner cities or in the surrounding areas of the inner city, not in the rural areas. Our jobs aren't, we're not in the farms and this and that. You know what I'm saying? Like, kind of. Now we're starting to get into that because I believe that um, a lot of black people and people of color that are able to buy land are now seeing the value in doing their own agriculture and on a different level, health reasons, things of that nature. You know what I mean? So, but we're in the cities. We're doing the jobs that make the city go. You know what I'm saying? We're doing the jobs that support the infrastructure and the superstructure of that city that we live in. Is that would you agree? And there's a
Absolutely.
variety of different skill sets and pay scales that go along with those jobs. Yes, you have a lower paying jobs that that you're dealing with, and then we have mayors, we have congressmen and senators, we have CEOs of companies. So when you start talking about the black job, and what Donald Trump was referring to, I want to believe that he was referring to is when the immigration, the monies that come in, the monetary funds that are taken away when you start pressuring certain states to raise minimum wage. So then you have people disobeying that and picking up maybe someone that they could pick up undocumented and illegal and pay them under the table a little bit less. Now that takes a job away from somebody else. Who? Your
It takes it
statistics,
takes it it takes it away from a lot of people, but
right? But
we're talking about the black people right now, so it takes away black jobs.
But in your statistics that's why I wanted to emphasize at the beginning of Joe Biden's statement, he emphasized that there was an issue with those things, right? And the catalyst of that issue is this immigration thing right here, right now. The biggest catalyst, there's always going to be issues, but the biggest problem that they're facing right now is these lax borders and all of this funding that's going into this thing. That's the argument. And that's a very viable and logical argument. And for people to take offense that one candidate can talk about the black community and use these terms, but the next one can't, I take issue with that.
Absolutely, because we need both candidates to speak on our community and what's going to happen with our community. If you
You
only
feel me?
want the Democratic Party to be able to speak on black anything, then what are you again? I don't even want to. That's a whole nother episode for us to talk about.
I mean, TikTok is
Basic
I got a
allegiance.
lot of comments on here. Shout out to everybody on TikTok. And please let's have level-headed conversations around these things. I don't want people going back and forth and beefing and all of that. Let's have like I am really trying to get down. Like I'm speaking the facts. Like I'm not convoluting and clouding and muddying the waters with all the propaganda and all the stuff. We're watching this thing and we're listening to this thing. And when we start talking about, we're not talking about detailed facts. We're talking about well-known things that are happening, and this is why it's happening and why. You know what I mean? So if you want to join the
Absolutely.
conversation, TikTok, if y'all guys want to join the conversation, um, please call in 202
Or
270088 or
or you can go over to YouTube and watch. That way you can, because I'm pretty sure they. I don't know if they can hear me, but then you can at least see what we're watching as well, and your comments can be put on screen so we can um, react to your comments in real time.
alrighty. So it that's the thing. I don't know where you're at in that clip.
I moved on. I moved on from there. So to wrap up what I think about that specific topic and how that was is that's equivalent to what a lot of to that would be equivalent to people saying, well, hey man, black people are always trying to play the race card or something like that. Like you're always trying to play the race card. This is just an example. And you're always trying to play the race card. You're always talking about racism, blah, blah, blah. You just talk about it way too much. Or you're always talking about slavery this, slavery that. Let it go. but then like we're just having a discussion, and then you say, hey, yeah, man, well, what about slavery, man? Slavery was, and racism, blah, blah. And then as soon as I say anything about slavery and racism, then you say, oh my gosh, see, you're always you brought this up. You brought this topic up. I'm responding to it. In the moment that I respond to it and use the word black, I'm racist.
Do you understand that that's the big stance? Like, this is why I don't rock with the Democratic Party. This is why I don't rock with them, because everything has to be dissected down to a cause or a specific group of people, when at the end of the day, the goal of America is for you to be freaking American. Okay? Not black American, white American, gay American. It's American. Like, I believe in that. I think that that's something that could be achievable, where you are of a different culture. That is fine. That is great. That's what makes America great. If people can understand that, the reason why America is so diverse and great is because we're so diverse. If all of us were on one accord with all of our differences and all of our diversities, and we were able to harness that and be fucking just harmonious with our differences, we would be so powerful and so great. So powerful and so great. I don't think people understand this. Like the comment I made the last show, where you take a bunch of boulders and you cement them together, you got something way more powerful than just one boulder. That's what we're looking at. And so, when I don't rock with the Democratic Party for those reasons, because everything is so divisive, and then to try to achieve that unity where it's like, hey, it's just America. Hey, let's just be American. That's looked at as being racist. Oh, well, you don't accept my blackness, or oh, you're trying to appropriate this, or oh, I mean, like, at this point in time, like, some of those conversations have to be left to the side, not left to the side in the sense that we're ignoring the evil that happens in this world, the maliciousness and the heinous crimes and all of that stuff that happens. We can't ignore that, but we can't manifest in a theory or an ideology. We have to make the change ourselves. Where are we at with with that clip? Do you want to roll that, the rest of that?
I had moved on from that. I had moved on to that from that one, because we had finished pretty much what Trump was saying right there.
All righty. So here's the next big thing that I really was concerned about. After about 30 minutes, it seemed like Joe Biden was getting worse and worse and worse as far as his addressing questions and dealing. There was several times where he was looking into the camera. I think that the networks kind of took the camera off of him a few times because he just looked really crazy. He looked extremely pale, and we saw live for an hour and a half Joe Biden bumble and stumble and mumble. There wasn't too many times where he was able to string together two or more sentences without messing that up. There were a few times where he totally lost track of what he was saying and then started talking about something totally different. Like, I believe we were talking about the war in Israel against Hamas, and he ended that statement with insulin, the price of insulin. Did anybody else catch that? Did anybody else catch that? Like, I think that the Democratic Party is now really concerned that he's not fit. We still can't get, everybody wants to talk about Donald Trump denouncing this, denouncing that, and we can't get a simple cognitive test out of this guy. That's something that, you don't have to prove. You don't have to go against any other organization or group. It's not, something that is a political challenge. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like that's something that should be had, and I feel that he would fail that miserably. Okay, that's fine. You can stand by Joe. You can stand by your party, but here's the problem. Like, I'm again, take Donald Trump out of the situation. I have my own problems with the Democratic Party. Um, but at the end of the day, it's like you guys are hanging this dude up like weekends at Bernie. Like, I've like, let this man go. The DNC is wrong for trying to have this man dangling like Pinocchio for you guys. You guys don't have any formidable opponents. There's nobody that you guys can stand behind besides Joe Biden to run this country. I mean, we clearly saw that night on that debate that Joe Biden was not fit to be the president. Now, I'm not saying, and again, we take Donald Trump out of the equation. We could put whoever up there next to him to running. You see Joe Biden, do you honestly think that this guy, our current president and commander in chief, has the fortitude to go another 4 years? It'd be catastrophic if we lost a president while he was acting and sitting in the seat. It is not good for optics and appearances to have that guy die as the president. Looking at Joe Biden, I do not feel comfortable, even if I was a Democrat hardcore, I would not feel comfortable with our commander in chief. And if I actually cared and loved that man and cared for that man, why would I put that mid 80-year-old dude that I can clearly visibly see is in poor health through that stress, that mental stress on his heart, on his physical? Do you think we're putting him in a good situation to lead us? There's nobody else that we got that we can't put in place of Joe Biden?
Nobody. Is there no one?
Single person? That's the biggest problem that I have with the support, because you guys are just sitting here looking at this guy just because you don't like Trump. I get it. You don't like Trump. That's fine. But come on. We can't omit and go past the fact that this guy showed us for 90 minutes he cannot be the president for the next 4 years.
Hashtag free Trilla.
What happened?
They said free Trilla.
Oh, free Trilla. Yeah, I'm free as hey. Hashtag free Trilla. I don't know what that means. I don't know if that's a slide disc. I don't know nowadays. I'm free.
Everybody tapped in. Everybody that's tapped in on TikTok, if you are under the sound of my voice, I don't know if they can hear me or not, but please double tap, triple tap, quadruple tap, infinity, billions and billions of taps,
billions of dollars.
No, billions and billions of taps on the screen, please.
Billions of taps, millions of hearts going up.
I know that you did want to focus or point out as well the both candidates and how they would be asked specific questions, more so for Trump, and they would ignore the question to talk about something else. I have a little clip of that as well.
I run that one.
President Biden, thank you so much. Let's turn to the cost of child care, which many American families struggle to afford. President Trump, both you and President Biden have tried to address this issue, but the average cost of child care in this country has risen to more than $11,000 a year per child. For many families, the cost of child care for 2 children is more than their rent. In your second term, what would you do to make child care more affordable?
Just to go back, the general got fired because he was no good. And if he said that, that's why he made it up. But we have 19 people that said I didn't say it, and they're very highly respected, much more.
Boom. Immediately goes into talking about the general and something else that happened beforehand. Immediately.
So than him. The other thing is, he doesn't fire people. He never fired people. I've never seen him fire anybody. I did fire a lot. I fired Comey because he was no good. I fired a lot of the top people at the FBI, drained the swamp. They were no good. Not easy to fire people. You'd pay a price for it, but they were no good. I inherited these people. I didn't put them there. I didn't put Comey there. He was no good. I fired him. This guy hasn't fired anybody. He never fires. He should have fired every military man that was involved with the Afghanistan horror.
So again, did not address the topic, which was childcare.
Neither one of them talked about that. I think they all avoided that because that is. I mean, we start hitting gray lines and gray areas when we start talking about childcare and stuff like that. And again, money that could be going to those, money that could be going towards those things. The rights argument is we're now spending those funds and misallocating those funds to allowing the amount of immigrants into our country and supporting them. It always goes back to that problem as being a big crux of our issue. And it took this administration so long to correct it.
That's one of the things that bothers me. See, I'm not left or right, man. I'm more centered. If you guys don't know me, my name is Unbiased Favoritism. Because it can go either way for me. I'm not a Democrat. I'm not a Republican. I'm not supporting anyone blindly. I don't support my mother blindly. I support my mom, but what's right is right. What's wrong is wrong. I don't understand why we just as a nation have different views on immigration, illegal immigration. I support immigration through the proper channels. I support that. I do not support illegal immigration. I do not believe that it's fair for people to occupy space illegally to cheat, basically,
and get funded to do so.
Exactly. That doesn't make sense.
Right.
Why should someone who does not have the right to be here be given more advantages than a person whose natural born right is to be here?
Time out. Let me correct you. Everybody has the right to be here.
The right to be in America?
Through the proper channels.
Yes, correct.
Okay. So
that's what I mean. When I say the right to be here, I don't mean like you should never ever be here. You currently don't have any rights you shouldn't have any rights as an American citizen because you're not an American citizen.
Right. Now, you as Unbiased Favoritism, and I know you and love you to death. If you were to be Donald Trump saying that would have been racist.
Absolutely.
That would have been that would have been something. You feel what I'm saying? So I understood what you meant because I love you and I agree with you, even though we don't agree all the time. Right. But I wouldn't have taken that out of context and then posted you up online saying that unbiased favoritism is a racist because he says that people don't have the right. Certain people don't have the right to be in America.
Do you know how to make me a mod on your channel?
On which one?
On TikTok.
Host, right?
A mod. I just want to be a mod.
I don't know how to do all of that. I'm old, brother.
Okay, we'll figure it out after the show. Because I'm watching your live. I'm watching your live feed on TikTok. Shout out to Deanna Alvarez. Salute to you for commenting and watching. Says try doing that in another country.
Try doing what in another country?
Your audio just went crazy.
Oh no, I got something going.
Okay. Yeah, try doing that in another country. It's not happening. It's not happening. It's not a real thing. I believe they're talking about, she says every country in the world has immigration laws and they enforce them. It's not a thing in other countries.
Oh, just coming into their stuff.
Yeah, and getting
I mean,
rights
the only
under
country
their.
that I think that we have that does that is like Africa, where it's just a wide open, and you're walking through the Serengeti. Next thing you know, you're in Congo. The next thing you know, you're. But I'm guaranteeing you, at certain points of entry, you they gonna rough you up if you don't have the right documents. Yeah, you're just not
Absolutely.
rolling into other countries without proper
Going
documents.
to jail, sir.
Harshly.
Going to jail, and you're not getting a phone call.
Wow.
You're not getting one phone call, sir.
You want your gruel? Yeah. It's
No, but
crazy.
every country absolutely has either immigration laws or immigration practices. Even if it's a third world country that just ran by tribes, you can't just walk in there and just think that you can go grab some tribe food. Like, bro, stop it.
What's that one island off the coast of
North Sentinel Island,
where them fools is
near
not
India.
with you.
Yeah.
You pull up, you getting spear chucked, they fucking you up. You not landing there, and they
salute to North Sentinel Island. I think we have a phone call. Let me see. Let me screen this. Let me see. Go ahead and continue on. Let me screen.
So it's. I think we really have to look at that issue, and I wouldn't say delicately, but we just have to understand that when we speak about that, we can't dissect these words down the middle and make them more than what they are, because then we get away from the fundamental issues. And I feel, and this is why I have the opinion that I have about the Democratic Party, is that I feel like they dissect things down too far to where we've now gotten away from the root cause and the root issue. And now we're just kind of, triaging multiple things. We're not focused on what that issue is. So, I mean,
All right, so we do have a caller.
Okay. It's one of those things where we really have to be able to conversate about this on a level, even keel, and take away all the emotional stuff.
Okay. Yeah, we have a caller from Pennsylvania. His name is James. James, welcome to the show. Go ahead and state your question or your discussion that you'd like to talk about.
What were your thoughts on the debate the other evening?
We are okay. And what would you like to point out?
Me, myself, I just thought Trump did a phenomenal job. I think it's pretty obvious Joe's delirious.
Okay.
Not capable. I don't know. He's just not mentally fit to do the job.
Are you a Republican? Do you support the Republican Party?
No, I do not.
Okay. Do you have a party that you support traditionally?
Honestly, man, I think they're all a bunch of crooks. No good, thieving, lying cocksuckers.
Okay, so now I get that. I feel there's a lot of people right now that's not ponying up to either ideal, either party, left or right. And that, to me, sir, is going to be the rise of the independent party. A lot of people fundamentally don't think that the third party would be good for America. But, because if you think about it, if the country couldn't be split down the middle no more, the majority would be a 33rd and a third, a 33rd and a fourth. That makes sense, right?
So, man, at the end of the day, the guy going out here working, I mean, he's getting hosed big time. You know what I'm saying? It's set up to where, number one, I mean, they need to do something with. I mean, my opinion is like, they want you to work till you're 70 years old. You know what I mean? And then your Social Security, what happens to that money? You know what I mean? If you're not a married man, you work till you're 68. Or even now it's like 60, whatever, and you pass away. Where's that money go? You paid it in. What happens to it? You know what I mean? Like, where's it go? I mean, if you're not married, no kids. No kids grown. There's a pile of shit they need to look at in this country, and the working man's just getting fucked royally.
May I ask what?
May I ask what
you're
Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania.
Okay, and Pennsylvania is one of those states. I would say hardworking Americans, man. The grit and the grind and where it gets done. A lot of what industries need and are supported comes from that state. Would you agree, caller?
No, I mean somewhat. Yeah, I mean to be honest with you, I don't work in the state of Pennsylvania. I travel for my work, but
Okay.
yeah, I mean, Pennsylvania. I mean, it's a pretty good state, I guess. I mean, there's a lot worse ones out there. I mean, you can have what they call a personal property tax. We don't have that in Pennsylvania.
Okay. So how did you?
You can
Okay.
have that. I mean,
So
good, sir.
if I was to ask you a question, like, okay, if you had a perfect candidate in mind, like, who would you see out of the political figures that we have right now? Who would you think out of, like, if you were to have that choice, who would you put up there? Who would be your presidential
I
candidate?
mean, to be honest with you, I mean, I think Trump's the greatest president we ever had. I mean, that's my opinion.
Mm-hmm. And how old are you?
I don't
How old are
know.
you, James?
I mean, I'm 44.
You're 24.
44.
Oh, okay, 44. Gotcha. So you're about
There was
choice.
no wars. I mean, I don't know. Here's
And
what I think. I mean, I think there's a reason why these people are afraid to have him in the office. I think there's so much corruption in our government is unbelievable.
All right, and just to touch on that, so in my opinion, I feel that Donald Trump has, at least in his favor, has exposed mainstream media for putting out a lot of fake news and disinformation. I believe that now is a thing because it's been displayed. And I also feel that, you know, when it comes down to exposing some of these politicians and the practices of politicians, I feel that Donald Trump has exposed that, like the corruption and the things that go on, and it showed us some of the layman's people that may have not been in politics or understood politics the way that they do, uh, showing us these crooked things that are happening more frequently. My man's on Twitter every day telling us. I kind of appreciated that.
Well, I mean, they want to call him a racist. He's this, he's that. Try to ruin his name. Try to ruin the guy. You know what I mean? I mean that freaking trial. I mean, that stuff up there that he's facing up in New York, which convicted of was nothing but a total fucking joke. I mean, we're turning into a banana republic.
Mm. Mm. So, James, we do appreciate you. Okay, we lost James.
So, James, we do appreciate. Okay, we lost James.
With James, we do appreciate you for calling. Anyone else that wants to call in, you're absolutely welcome to call in. Salute to James from Pennsylvania. To what you guys were kind of getting at there, where it was going right there towards the end, there is I would say a good amount of people who have raised concerns.
Oh, my fault. Go ahead.
I was gonna say a good amount of people who have raised concerns about President Trump and him being a convicted felon and him being able to run for president.
Yeah, that's another thing that it makes things very unclear because obviously he's capable of doing it. He's a primary candidate. I don't think any state has been able to legally take him off the ballot. I may be wrong. I don't know if that's even a thing. So it looks like that's not a disqualifying factor, but it's confusing to a lot of people that have been jammed up and locked up and got felonies on their books and they can't vote. I'm not sure if that that law has changed in some states. I'm not sure if that's a state thing or a federal thing. I'm not sure.
Mm.
I might have to look into that. There might be states that allow felons to vote, depending on what.
If there is a felon, if there is a felon that occupies the seat of president of the United States, I I for one am not decided on this topic at the moment. Um, do I? Because and the reason why is because even before this, do I view felons or convicted convicts or whatever you may want to call them? Do I support them being able to get jobs? I think it's case by case. I think
It
it's
is a
case by case. I think that there are some felons that should not be able to get certain jobs, and then there are also some that should. When we talk about what happens when someone gets convicted of a crime and is imprisoned, right? You can call a prison a bunch of things. You can call it jail. You can call it prison. What the word that I think go away from, the phrase that I think we go away from a lot is correction facility, right?
Correctional facility.
Correctional facility. So if a person has committed a crime and they're sent to a correctional facility, they're supposed to be correcting their behavior and they're supposed to be rejoining society as a rehabilitated person, member of.
Absolutely.
So if that person, and this is where the case by case comes into play. If that person is exhibiting if they're exhibiting rehabilitated behaviors and they look like they are ready to join society, then they should be allowed to have interim jobs or things in a certain manner to where they actually can rejoin society. But what happens a lot of times is when you do get rehabilitated people that are ready to join society, they are roadblocked and are not able to join society the way that they would like to be a fully functional member of society. Yet they'll at that point be might then want to turn back to the things that got them incarcerated or charged in the first place, because I cannot be a regular member of society, so I can't take care of myself. I can't take care of my family, things of that nature. And then at that point, what will happen? I think I might have lost you, Trill. Did I lose you? Yeah, I think I lost Trill here. There were a lot of things during this debate that were able to get pointed out, and I think that we're probably going to have a lot of discussions about the debate and what is going to come from this. We know that there'll be more. We know that this is not going to be the end of this presidential election as far as all of the drama that's going to come from there. We are very interested to hear what you have to say. If you're listening on Spotify, you can comment. If you're not, go to Spotify, you can comment, or you can follow Trill on TikTok at TikTok Triller and join the discussion there, or follow us at Guap Nation, subscribe to the YouTube or Guap Network, subscribe to the YouTube, and then you can join the conversation from there as well. We do appreciate everybody that was able to. Oh, there's Trill. Trill's back. I was going ahead and close the show we're at 1:30.
Yeah, all right. My apologies, I dropped off there, but yeah. Real quick though, just to touch on what you were saying, like you're absolutely right, man. Like when it comes down to being rehabilitated and the idea of criminology and the rehabilitation of someone being able to be reinserted into society. That's what the correctional facility, that you're on parole. We reinsert you. We make sure that you are able to live by the letter of the law. You haven't broken any laws. You haven't done anything. We reported in. You did everything that you're supposed to. Unfortunately, uh, by a higher rate than most, we are in that position as people of color. So you know what I mean. That's one thing that does need to be addressed. If we want to really emphasize and get better is understanding that that system is provided for people to get better. And in history, we've seen a bunch of convicted felons after their crimes and they serve their time contribute to society in great ways.
Absolutely. I have an uncle. I have an uncle who's a convicted felon who served some time in prison. And here's the thing as well. This is why I say case by case, because some people, this country is amazing. Okay. We live in a great country. I would never trade my country for to be in any other country. I'm a Black American who will not be shy about saying that there are and were disadvantages for certain people, including my people in this country. But that should not be enough to hinder you and to play the victim, because black, white, orange, that's a joke, yellow, whatever it may be that you are, this country is going to have opportunities for you, and there will be roadblocks for everyone at some point. You have your own path to walk. But my point was, my uncle, who was a convicted felon, was not able to get the jobs and rejoin society the way that he might have wanted to be part of corporate America. So what did he do? He started his own company. He started his own business, doing not even lawn care. I want to say tree services like tree removal, stuff like that. And from when I was a teenager, from when he got out, when I was a teenager to now, has built himself a business that has thrived and that constantly grows, something that he can hand down to his children. He did not let the fact that the country would not allow a felon to join corporate America for him not to create his own corporation.
And that's dope. Man, shout out to your uncle, man. Give your man a claps, please.
If you're in the Virginia 7-city area, tap in with us and I'll plug you in with my uncle. He's great. He's been doing business for over 20 years, and he's a great, dope individual. One of the fatherly figures in my life, for sure.
And that's a dope story, and there's plenty of those stories. Now, on the flip side of this felon thing, right? And then now here I am inserting a little bit of my opinion and biased here. We cried and complained about how the justice system is not just. We've cried and complained that DEA offices and law enforcement can lie and twist narratives. We've had plenty of stories of the old baggie getting thrown in the back seat. We have plenty of stories of, oh, you fit the description. We have plenty of these things where the justice system has failed us, policing has failed us. And then for us to be so locked in on the fact that, there's a conviction.
Someone just called again. If you, I just noticed that you were calling. Call again if you like to. I'm sorry. Go ahead, bro.
So, one thing we do have is this thing called due process. So just because you are convicted of something doesn't necessarily mean that you actually committed any crime. We have seen this time and time again. We have now seen pardon after pardon, people getting let out of prison for wrongfully being accused. Now that we have DNA and more evidence, we've seen this. So to say that this system is ironclad, that Donald Trump is a criminal and convicted of a crime, then okay. I saw people testify to contradict that. I watched that trial. I watched every time, not the trial on like live stream, but I watched all of the pertinent testimonies, things like that, where people testified that they made the errors or they did the things or whatever. I mean, I could be drinking the Kool-Aid. Whatever you want to say there, JC Strong. We all drinking Kool-Aid. If you firmly believe on your stance, you drinking Kool-Aid in my world. I have my opinions that's based off truth and facts. And then when it comes down to the Democratic Party in general, I just don't support them.
I like ginger ale myself. One of my favorite drinks.
Ginger ale with popular drinking. It still is.
I
Yeah,
like Sprite. I like
Sprite
Sprite.
is good.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Hey,
Kool-Aid
a good old American beer.
isn't Kool-Aid racist?
No, I wouldn't say so.
No.
No.
Watermelon. That's the next thing we get crazy with too. Symbology, symbolism in certain things. You know what I mean? But so that I don't think we got that caller back, but that's cool. When it comes down to this felony thing, it makes things confusing for sure.
Yeah.
So
Let's go ahead and
I
wrap up.
say I say you go ahead and eliminate a lot of that stuff that's an emotional. Look at these facts. To wrap it up, we looking at this debate. I would say at best we have two candidates that we probably could do a better job in having candidates. So I don't think Joe Biden is fit to be president. I think that Donald Trump did not capitalize on securing independent or swing voters. The highlight of the debate was the argument about their golf swings.
That was hilarious, actually.
You know,
That
but
was hilarious, actually. Dang, we didn't get to play that. Hold on.
Yeah, play that zone.
We didn't get to play that. Hold on. I feel like we do got to play that.
I mean, honestly, like that was probably the most what's the wholesome thing that we've seen these two do. If it was as lighthearted as that all the time with them, that would probably be great.
I can't find it. Thought we had it
Hold
marked
on.
down. I thought I had it marked down, but it doesn't look like I have it marked down. Let me go see if I can find it. But again, what I was saying too was that, you know, this isn't going to be the end of the discussion about the debate. There'll be more debates as well. And I just think that this debate, I'm going to go ahead and confirm what you were saying about getting the swing votes. I am a swing voter, so you probably he didn't succeed in
convincing you.
Yeah, not at all.
Not at all. You know, but it is what it is, and we, you know, we've come to a point where we're gonna go ahead and conclude this one.
Oh, I got it.
Oh, you got it. You got it.
I got it. This is something lovely for you guys to leave with.
Your capabilities to serve.
Well, I took two tests, cognitive tests. I aced them, both of them, as you know. We made it public. He took none. I'd like to see him take one, just one, a real easy one. Like go through the first 5 questions. He couldn't do it. But I took 2 cognitive tests. I took physical exams every year. And, you know, we knock on wood wherever we may have wood, that I'm in very good health. I just won 2 club championships, not even senior, 2 regular club championships. To do that, you have to be quite smart, and you have to be able to hit the ball a long way, and I do it. He doesn't do it. He can't hit a ball 50 yards. He challenged me to a golf match. He can't hit a ball 50 yards. I think I'm in very good shape. I feel that I'm as in good a shape as I was 25, 30 years ago. Actually, I'm probably a little bit lighter, but I'm in as good a shape as I was years ago. I feel very good. I feel the same. But I was willing to take a cognitive test. And you know what? If I didn't do well, I aced them. Dr. Ronnie Jackson, who's a great guy when he was White House doctor. And then I took another one, a similar one. And one of them said they've never seen anybody ace them.
Thank you. President Biden.
Donald Trump.
You can see he is 6'5" and only 223 pounds, or 235 pounds. Well, you said 6'4", 200. Well, anyway, that's what anyway, just take a look at what he says he is and take a look at what he is. Look, I'd be happy to have a driving contest with him. I got my handicap, which when I was vice president, down to a 6. But by the way, I told you before, I'm happy to play golf if you carry your own bag. Think you can do it?
If you carry your own
It's a 6
bag.
handicap of all.
I was at 8 handicap.
Yeah.
8 But I have, you know, how many?
I've seen you swing it in this one.
Okay, let's
not act like children.
President Trump, we're going to
21
turn.
Let's not act like children.
Hey there, MSN.
Hey, we don't care about you, guy. Yeah, man, that was hilarious. That's just something funny to leave with you guys. I get it. The people that are gonna say like this is horrible. This is junk. But I just feel like certain things like these are needed. We need the president. We need to see what their the competitiveness. I do. Yeah. I love to see that.
Right. And I think that clip right there, everybody listen. It was refreshing, kind of, like they wasn't dead serious. I think towards the end they kind of wrapped it up and got back on it. But I think that moment in time is where most Americans are at. Really, we kind of just want to laugh it off. We kind of just don't want to think about it. Let's go golfing. But where can they find this verse?
You guys can watch the entire live feed back on YouTube at GWOP Network, GWOP Network. Salute to everybody that are watching on YouTube. You guys can follow GWOP Network on Facebook as well, GWOP Network. You guys can check out the audio version of this podcast. And you can check that out anywhere podcasts are being played. Specifically on Spotify, you can interact with the show as well. And then Trill, you can tell them where they can find you on TikTok.
You can find me on TikTok here on TikTok Triller. I appreciate everybody joining in today. Strong shout out to my TikTok followers for looking at this live stream and getting down with us.
Salute to Deanna Alvarez, has been here, looked like the entire time. Salute to you.
Thank you. Hey, Dina. Salute to you. I appreciate you. And you can find me on Instagram at Trilogy Productions. Until next time. And I think next time we're gonna go ahead and get back into the Constitution until these two talk again. UFVA, thanks as usual. I appreciate you, brother.
Every time.
Shout out to you. And shout out to America. Trilla out.
Peace, love, prosperity.